work on today is we will go back to basics, because it's always a matter of kind of like fly fishing for me when I'm coming up with haircuts. It's like you cast off and you go like crazy creative, and then you're like, oh, time to rein it back in, and you're reining it back in, and you got to come back to the classics. And I'm always like out in, out in. And I think that's how I always stay motivated as well, is because I always find joy and passion and a challenge in coming back to the classics. So what I thought we would do today, because what we do with our online class is we have specialist cutting days. So today was a specialist cutting day in our online academy for our students. So I thought I'd back that up, and we're going to do a one length. So sounds really easy, just a one length. And clients say that too. Just a trim, just a one length. It's never just a one length. It's like never just a trim. It is still, cutting somebody's hair into a shape. And the way that we teach, we have sort of two techniques for delivering a one length. So we have a technique for below shoulder, and we have a technique for above shoulder. Okay. Now, I have a problem with my mannequin here. They don't actually have shoulders. So what I thought I would do today is through the left-hand side, I'm going to treat that as a one length above shoulder, and I'll go through that technique with you. And then through the right-hand side, I'm going to treat it more like a one length below shoulders, so that you can see how that will work. I'm also going to work today with a side part, and I think that would be nice because we have been working with a center part a lot of the time. And I think when you do a side part with a line, you get a really beautiful play on different lengths. So the first thing I would say, the reason I've chosen to do the one length above shoulders on this side is because the part is on this side. Yeah. And for me, this side's going to end up being a little bit longer because we're going to over direct it back. But when I see a part here and this is the heavier, longer side, naturally my brain would think that is the longer side and this one is the shorter side. If you came through and you made the heavier side shorter and the smaller, weaker side longer, I don't know, it just never really has this kind of balance. And that's what we talk about when something is asymmetric or like it still has to have beauty and balance to it. So does everyone agree with me? Like, I think this should be that shorter side and then this drops down to be that longer side. I have once in my life done it the other way, and I just kind of felt a little bit sick looking at it. It just kind of didn't look, it was a bit NQR. All right, so I've done a little bit of pre-sectioning because we've got that side part. Also, I cannot wait to get this haircut finished because this beautiful color was created by Marilyn Garino, our head color technician and head colorist at Bieber and Bieber Academy. So I'm dying to see what this is going to look like when it's all glossy and shiny. It looks very inspirational, yeah? So I'll just pick this up. So when we do our one length above shoulder, we are working above, so say the shoulder's here, we're working above the shoulder. One of the key things that we do is we actually section into that hot cross bun. So we take a section down here. Now, one of the things that I like to teach is to take that section to the top of the ear or just kind of behind the ear, yeah? So right there. So what that means is that when you're cutting this front bit, yeah, you've got all the hair that's going to sit over the ear in your control in that section, rather than having half of the hair back here cut and then half there. So that's one of my little tips as well. So sort of section around here, yep, it's kind of, there's the back of the ear. So all of this hair will sit flush behind the ear, yep. And then that's a separate section. So above shoulder, you do the hot cross bun. When you've got the below shoulder, you actually have these two sections together and we cut this in one whole section working around like that, which will make more sense as we're doing it. But just so you've got a little idea of where we're going with this. And the reason that we do that is because we want all of this hair to be cut and it's all going to be over directed back into this line, which presumably is kind of below the shoulder. We don't have any shoulders. I can do whatever I want, okay? So this one's going to come back here and this one's going to follow around, Okay, so we'll get to see those two techniques working together. What else? One length. 0 degree elevation, yeah. So this is my hair shaft. I'm at 0 degrees elevation. As soon as I start to elevate that piece of hair, so say if I start cutting it through my fingers, I start pulling it up and looking at it while I'm cutting it, I've elevated it and I'm graduating it. Okay, so you want to try where possible to be at 0 degrees elevation, which is not really possible because you're not a robot and you don't have a laser for a finger. So it's all about minimizing the chance of like contraindications, which is basically a fancy way of saying the things that could stuff your lineup. Okay, so what are some things that could stuff your lineup? You guys got any ideas? I can shoot them off for you. One major thing, hoodies. Yeah, clients that come in with hoodies. Yes, Bradley, man on the back of the camera, I'm looking at you with your hoodie. You cannot come in for a one length today because you've got a hoodie on. So there's no way you could possibly cut a one length, a 0 degree elevation line with someone with a hoodie. So that's the first thing, remove that. Client's body position, that is really important. If you want to create something that's really structured and straight and the client crosses their legs, as soon as someone crosses their legs, it's like this. Yeah, so it automatically throws that balance off. So just being aware of your client's body position. Another key thing is your own body position. And I see, you know, a lot of students and they're kind of balancing like this. I was definitely one of these, like balancing like that because that's how you get that good balance. No, 2 feet firmly on the ground and you want to keep your hips in line with the client's shoulders. Yeah, so just being aware of your own body position and your client's body position. So that's your mirror. Yeah. Then there's lots of other things which we can go through while we start cutting, but we better get cracking. So let's section up this other side. What you want to do as well when you're creating a line is try and be eye line with what you're doing. Okay, so we at Bieber Academy, if we have a client and their hair is sitting over the back of the chair, we would get that client to stand up and hold on to the back of the chair, because if they don't hold on to the chair, sometimes they can kind of faint. I've had one of those. You don't want that. So get the client to hold on to the chair, and then that way the chair is not giving you a false sense of elevation. Yeah, because remember you want to be at 0 degrees. So I'm just going to lift this up nice and high through here. Now to get that balance with the section, what I would do is comb all the hair the direction that I want that section to go in, like this. And then you can line yourself up and take that section, okay, in through there. Now this side, what I'm going to do, because it's a lot of hair, I'm just going to clip it like that. Okay, so some people like to twist it all the way up out of the way, and some people will just push it over like that. Really, it doesn't overly matter. Okay, it's just how you go about getting the line. But what does matter is that it's super, super balanced. So make sure you've got that really nice symmetry between each side. Okay, keep those sections nice and clean. Now the sections shape that you take is on a slight angle. The reason it looks like it's on a slight angle is because generally speaking, the client will put their head down. So that kind of helps you eliminate, if the client puts their head down and you take it dead straight, right? When the client puts their head up, it might actually be the opposite of what you want. So by sectioning on a very slight angle, then it helps when the client tilts their head down. Okay, now the first section that you take, right, it depends on what sort of density of hair your client has. And I think back in the day we used to take, I'd take a section like this, and I'd be down here, and you could do it like that. But the reality is you don't actually have time for that. People are in a hurry these days, and one of the key things that you need to have time for when you're doing a line is to refine it. And if you've taken like tiny, tiny, tiny little sections for the whole thing, you don't have any energy left, your client is over it, and it's kind of a bit it's just not necessary. Yeah. So I think taking that first section just that little bit bigger has really helped me with my timing. Okay. All right, so let's go. But again, it's all depending on your client's density. So we're going to come in with my comb parallel to my section. I'm going to come, you can put your scissors behind here to add a bit more tension. We're going to come in, okay, and I'm going to cut, can you see, parallel to the section, okay? So this is the guide. This is the most important section. This is the one that you really want to spend the time on, okay? Because it just tells a story of what the whole haircut is going to look like, okay? So I will run over that a couple of times. Make sure you're really happy with that shape. You know, make sure you nail the length at this point. Don't cut it, you know, too long as well. There's nothing more annoying if a client has been in isolation for a really long time. In lockdown, they come in and they want their hair cut at a particular length, but you're too nervous, so you cut it down here. They're going to be like annoyed. So fulfill the brief, you know. And a mirror is a really good tool. So I would cut this, stand back as well, and assess the shape. I'm happy with that. It's got a nice curvature to it. It follows my section, yeah. And now I can keep going. But what you can do with the client, a good little tool, is you can hold the comb here, yeah, and the client in the mirror can see where that comb is, and then they can kind of see where it is it's going to end up, yeah. And that's a really good way to sort of visually show them. So, and you know, people can feel it as well. You can put your hand there. How does that sort of feel? All of those sorts of things. Get your client engaged in what you're doing, yeah. All right, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to keep going. Now it's all about consistency. So I cut that with my wide teeth, yep, in through my comb. So I'm going to continue doing that for the rest of the haircut, okay? So let's take out these sections. Just tighten this. And we will keep working our way up the head shape. So for me, I always want to be able to see my guide underneath. If I can't see my guide underneath, then my section is too thick, yeah? And I'll end up like second guessing myself. And in the long run, it will take longer. You think that, oh, it'll be quicker. I'll do some really fat sections, but for me, it never really works out. So this one in through here. This one, remember, we're just going to clip it. Bring that down, and we'll keep going. Wide teeth in and following that. So my scissors, my comb, everything is parallel to each other, okay? And then in this side. So the way I'm holding my scissors as well, I find really helps with the shape. So I'm holding it like that. So I've got a flat wrist rather than holding it like this and my hand gets in the way, yeah? So I'm sort of dropping my hand back and controlling my scissors through here. And you'll find that lots of scissors actually have, see that dint in the scissors here? So that's actually making room for you to operate your scissors like that. When I'm cutting hair, it's really not about my thumb. Like my thumb's just really like opening and closing it. It's not doing anything that dramatically awesome. Where the strength in my hand is these three fingers, and this is what's controlling those scissors for me, yeah? And then this just sits somewhere to go like this. All right, let's keep going. So yes, if this is the first time you've joined as well, you've joined our online Bieber Academy sessions because we're all in lockdown and we're just trying to stay motivated and make the most of our time. And we have got access to the comments here with my incredibly handsome and an intelligent cameraman on the other side. So if you've got any questions, please type them in there. This is a very safe, friendly space. So yeah, make sure if I'm saying anything that is different to maybe how you've been taught as well, you know, jump in and we can talk about it. Yeah. So lift that up. Okay, make sure that head's straight. I'm like such a, even if a client is reading a book or on a phone or something like that, I am pretty hardcore with trying to keep their head in the same position, because it just makes a huge difference. Yeah. In through here. Now, notice as well that the hair is not overly dripping wet. Yeah, I've got even dampness. Like it's all about consistency with this haircut. So you don't want to have like dripping wet hair. It's going to affect the end result. It's going to, you know, the tension will be different on the hair. Okay, so move that up there. Take this one out. I always comb the hair in the direction that I want that section to go in. Comb that down. Now we'll give it a twist. Okay, and keep going. So yeah, we sort of, it's funny how like this is the first haircut, a one length that you learn at the academy, but it really is a challenge. You know what I mean? And I think you can practice this haircut for years and years and still never like master it. Do you know what I mean? That's one of the most amazing things about it. There's nowhere to hide as well. It's like, it's either straight or it's not. So for me, it's like, well, you know, if ever I go and do training myself, so we send our educators at Bieber Academy go and train in London at Sassoons. We're very, very incredibly fortunate and lucky to be able to have that as part of our ongoing training and development. And whenever I go there, I love to do the classics. I love to really focus on those shapes. Okay, so this side, I'm going to start over directing this side back, okay? Yep. And this one is going to come around. So moving the comb around the neck, okay? All of this is going to come back through here. I'll keep moving. I think as well, this is going to be a haircut that is a reality out of lockdown. I think that people like having a really clean, sharp line when everyone's got like this kind of business going on. Yeah, I think this will be an exciting haircut that will come back, these like classic lines. So sort of, if you've got a mannequin at the moment, you're practicing those, because you can always improve. See how I place my finger there and then just put that. So this follows around. Okay, now you can use your scissors here to hold that. Come back. Yep, and then we follow this one around. And then in through here, you can see in this corner, bring that around there. You can tell when I'm doing a one length, I'm like quiet. But yeah, it really is like, you know, it's something that you want to practice, that line work, because it's the fundamentals of so many different shapes. It's having the discipline to kind of do this, you know. And there's something so beautiful about a line. So see now this follows all the way through to the front. So you continue that same angle right through to the front hairline. Yeah, that goes all the way around. Just keep it nice and clean using that little clip. This is why I love these little clips. For me, I wouldn't need like a huge big crocodile bulldog clip, because it's just these holding these little sections in the right spot. Yep. So I'll bring this back. Now this is going to fall out of my comb, so permission to use your fingers, okay, to bring this back and continue this line. Okay. And this is one of these moments where it's like, okay, I'm struggling, it's not going to sit in the comb. What can I do? I can use my fingers. And if something is easier for you to do, you're going to get a better result. Okay, just because something is really, really hard, it doesn't mean that that's going to be better. Okay, so if you find that something's just really difficult, I suspect maybe you need to change the way you're holding something, or just kind of revisit how it is you're doing it, because it should be really nice and comfortable and sort of feel quite natural working. You can see as well I'm bending my knees rather than trying to hunch over like that, because you'll end up completely stuffing your back. So, all right, last section through here. It's just dried off a little bit, so I'll just spritz it down. How good is this color popping out here? Have we got Marilyn in the room? So she's going to have to let us know what she's done here.
Mr. Casey's asked, do you always bring the sides back?
I guess Melissa's just asked if I always bring the sides back. I guess the only thing I always don't do, Melissa, is say always. Because as soon as you say, oh, I always do that, I'll turn around and I'll do it the other way. Do you know what I mean? So what you got to understand is, when I'm over directing it back, what am I getting? I'm getting more length, and I'm getting movement and weight towards the front. So that's what I want. So that's why I've over directed that back. This side, I want it to come around and be more sharp and solid. So that's why I'm coming around and bringing this side around all at 0 degrees elevation. So it's just all about, what do I want? So you've got to have that vision at the start to then achieve the goal. Yeah. So I would never sort of say, I try to not say always. Yeah. I think the only thing I always do is I try and always cut from short to long. That's something I do. Although right now it looks like I'm cutting from long to short. So there you go. Just don't say always. So just look at that, just that one finger, just to hold this in place. And we're just in our fingers here, so that we get that nice drop down on this longer side. But I'm still trying to keep that elevation to a minimum, yeah? And my hand is still nice and flat in through here. I mean, it's such a versatile shape, the one length, you know? You can do so many things with it. Okay, I'm up to here. Now I'm back in my comb. Now, if this was a client, I would probably actually be cutting this more on skin So I would be down, and I love to cut my lines down like this and then come across. But on the mannequin, cutting on skin doesn't work because there is no cutting on skin because it doesn't go in with your scissors. But that's one of my favorite ways because it really gives you the least amount of tension. So I can come down and then I pop my fingers here and then I come in and I cut that way, yeah? But you can't do that on the mannequin. So that's why the second best thing I can do, the second least amount of tension, is my wide teeth. I want a little bit more tension, I go small teeth. I want a little bit more tension, I go fingers, yeah? So it's all about deciding how much tension you want, what you're trying to create. See, it's never just a line, is it? Just a trim. Just a trim. Do you guys have clients that say that? Just a trim. And then I saw a meme the other day that it was like some woman that was falling over when she found out that like just a trim cost the same as like a full restyle haircut. And she was like, no. Like, all right. Take out this side. Through here. I'm going to finish this side and then we'll jump over and we'll talk about the one length above shoulder over the ear because there's some really interesting things to talk about when you're cutting over the ear. So this one's going to all come back and have this beautiful line. Are there people out there that struggle with the one length? Like I find it like super stressful. Does anyone else? Like, you know, honestly speaking. I think it's just, yeah, I don't know. I just, you know, I always want my work to be of a really high standard. And a one length, there are a lot of like what we talk about, like those contraindications, those things that if you're not paying attention and you know. But I love the idea of this vertical coloring with this shape through the bottom. I think this is what's going to look the best. So I'm excited to see this finished. Coming down in through that. Just going to grab a tissue. Okay. Keep going with this angle. Now, in terms of drying this line, how I like to work is we will wrap dry. So I think we'll work with some natural fall, okay, and see where this line really wants to sit so that we're able to refine it. And then we might gloss it with the irons just to get it looking as shiny as possible because this color is gorgeous.
Said, yeah, and if one ear sticks out a bit more than the other, I find it hard to avoid getting that dip in the one length. Any tips would be great.
Yes, so that's the thing, isn't it? It's the ears. I'm like, why can't we just take them off, do the haircut, and then stick the ears back on? That would be so helpful, but we can't do that. So yes, when we're coming and we're doing the other side, we are definitely going to be talking about dealing with ears. So just get this last little section here.
Melissa, Casey, Barrett's, do you ever cut the back length first, then the front length?
I think I'm cutting the back length first now, Melissa, and then we've moved into the front. Maybe what you're saying is, do I ever cut the front first and then the back? Which I would do as well. You kind of just, I do mix it up sometimes, depending on what that client's after. Okay, keep this one going around, and then we're going to start through the opposite side. Okay. Wide teeth, remember? It's all about consistency. All right, now we're over to this side. So this is the side that, and this one length above shoulder, when you're in front of the ear, this is the crucial moment right now. So some tips. Potentially this is dried off, which is what happens, right? Because you've spent so long. So make sure you've got that even global dampness between the front and the back section, okay? Second thing is you want your client's chin to be sort of parallel to the floor. So I wouldn't have it forward too much or back. So really just parallel to the floor, but then the head over a little bit, okay? So you can see that jaw, and I would literally stand back from my client to make sure that that jaw is in line with the floor, yeah? So jaw, floor, kind of rhymes. And then what you want to do when you take your section is I don't just take a section through here, okay? If I took this section here, right, I would be using the top of the back to cut the bottom of the front. And I'm never, ever going to get a line that marries between the back and the front, okay? So what you want to do is you take a cross section from what you've already cut, so back here, and you take that through into what you want to cut, okay? Again, fingers are great for just trapping that hair, and then that is how you get that really nice line, because you use the same piece for the same piece. Yep. Does that make sense? So I think that would be a really key tip for this this front panel, yeah? So using the same part of the head to create that shape. Okay, so I need to be right in front of what I'm doing. The next thing you've got to do is do some ear allowance, right? Now, this mannequin doesn't really have the hugest ears going around, but so you want to come in, okay? Remember wide teeth, same tension, in, down, and then what I say to my students is you think you're ready to cut, but you're not, because you have to go 1, 2, 3. So what am I doing when I'm doing that? It's called ear allowance, right? So by tapping 1, 2, 3, when the hair dries, I've released the tension through that bit. So if you pull it down, it actually looks a little bit longer, but when it's dried and it sits up over the ear, that's what helps you with that little divot, yeah? So we'll do it again, and it's all about consistency, so you want to do it every time, okay? So literally the students hear me like singing through the academy, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, yeah? And then you cut. So we've done that bit. So we're in through here. I'm actually just going to have to move to my small teeth because this weave on this mannequin here. Okay, we'll come down. And cut through there, yeah? And consistency. Let's do this every section and work up through here. Yeah, so you use the same bit as you're traveling through. We're coming in, we're coming down, 1, 2, 3, and we're coming through to the front. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Does anyone else have any tips over the ears? Is that what you guys would be doing? We sort of found that that's doing that 2 on top and 1 below really does kind of give you that moving room over the ear. 1, 2, 3. And even if I was cutting on skin, I would be in, down, same thing, 1, 2, 3, like that. So you can see how it's longer in through there. Right. Nearly finished. So yeah, just kind of having these strong fundamental techniques can really help you with these shapes that you find a little bit more stressful. 1, 2, 3. I mean, my wish would be that more people had haircuts like this. I love these strong classic looks. Okay, bring this down. I mean, this looks like a new person. We've just dried off a little bit here. So even though I'm on that last section, you've got to have that consistency. Bringing that through. So we're in, we're down, 1, 2, 3. Even my comb, when I'm cutting, I try and have my comb at 0 degrees elevation. Yeah. Otherwise, sometimes if my comb's on an angle like that, I'm pushing the hair the wrong way as well. So just something even like that. You're trying to get that as low as possible, yeah? All right. So there's our line on Crystal. So all using the technique of a 1 length, yeah? So on this side, we took that all the way around, and then through this right-hand side, we used over direction, yeah? So that over direction is the only difference in these two sides, yeah? So you'll be able to see what a difference that just that little thing of over directing that back, how you're going to create, you know, something unique for your client, yeah? So let's prep this. What I wouldn't do with my line, right, is obsess over it now. So I wouldn't comb, and I actually see this a lot. People have done the whole 1 length with their comb, and they've done it all very methodically, and then right before, like when they've finished everything, they'll come and check it through their fingers, and like you've just completely derailed what you did. Do you know what I mean? So trust the process, and if you've exercised that consistency throughout, back yourself. Yeah, go into that dry off as long as the client likes the shape. I mean, if it's clearly not where you were meant to go, yes, you do need to like have another look at it. But yeah, you can kill something with kindness by like over cutting. Yeah, you need to know when to put the scissors down and start to finish. Okay, so let's put a little bit of a leave-in treatment spray. Gosh, this color looks good, doesn't it? Yeah. And we always talk about with these, with something that's got more of a, you know, it's got a couple of tones going on, having more of a global haircut and a simple shape is going to really showcase this color. Yeah. Okay, so even spritz of a leave-in treatment, and just if you're not a Bieber kid, this is our leave-in treatment, which is it's not a styling product. I would more consider this a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a primer. Yeah, like a primer for the cuticles. So sometimes the cuticle, after you've had like color treatment or something like that, sometimes there's like little potholes in your hair, which is like a disgusting way to look at it, but it's kind of, you get that visual, right? So what I'm doing when I'm putting the leave-in is I'm kind of filling in the potholes on the road. Yeah, so I've got more of a smoother surface, and then I can go and put my styling product on top of that. Yeah, rather than if I go straight in with my styling product, you'll find it might like sink into the potholes, and you're not going to get a smooth, as much of a global shiny finish. Yeah, so these are really good to use You can even use a leave-in treatment whilst you're cutting. Like, it's a really nice cutting agent. Now, in terms of a styling product, I'm going to go through with some hair glosser. This is an argan oil. So that's in that Bieber range as well. And again, it's like, where do I need this? I mean, if I just got this oil and tipped it on there, I don't think that's really going to help me. So first, what you want to do is put that through your own hands, yeah? And then come and work it through where you want to see that ultimate glossy shine, okay? So now I'm coming and I'm working it through these mid-lengths to ends, yep. In through here. And I'm always like, try and talk about your products with the client. I mean, if this was a salon situation and I had my client, I would have the product. I would first explain what it is I'm doing. I can't believe I'm doing this with my friend here, but I would explain what it is I'm doing. I would literally talk through it, even if it's a client that you have had for years. Don't ever assume that they're not going to enjoy the full service, you know? So I would still go through it. And if you're just learning, my God, you've got to do it, because you need for it to become part of your service, okay? So you would talk through this and then you put it on the bench in front of the client. What I see sometimes is, you know, a client or a student will come over to a client, they've just gone to the tester stand, and then they come over with like this miscellaneous white something and then just start putting it in someone's hair. I mean, you're never going to inspire your client to use something that they don't even know what it is. Like, and that's kind of weird too, you know, like you're just coming over with this. I'm just going to wipe that off my hand. But do you know what I mean? Like, so you've got to really bring the client on the journey. Yeah. So let's get rid of that. Now I want to just really quickly brush those products through. Okay.
And he says this cut looks like the latest Chanel Spring Summer 22 show. You'll DM me the pic later.
Oh, DM it to me. Well, I'll take that. Thank you, Danny. It's like the ultimate compliment. All right. So brush, 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 and then we will wrap. Okay. So wrap dry 101, no nozzle. I don't use the nozzle because by taking the nozzle off, I'm increasing my surface area. I'm going from blow drying this much hair to blow drying this much hair. And when I start my wrap dry, I want to start through the roots. Yeah, I'm building a house when I'm blow drying something, so I want to lay the foundations, which is the roots, and then I worry about the rest of it. Okay, so assume the position. I'm just going to tilt my client's head forward. I think that's forward. And then we'll start underneath. And I'm going to start wrapping this forward. So the air is going down the hair at a 45-degree angle. And then my brush is my little worker bee to move the hair around to find a space at the root. Yeah. So yeah, we've just done a one length. We've just did a trim, just a trim. But what we did is we utilized over direction. That was that key thing that we did to sort of create a little bit of mystery and, you know, something more personalized for our client, something that would work with the color and the side part as well. There's some really beautiful tones in here. I don't know if Marilyn's put the formulas in the comments yet. I'll have to get her to do that. Okay, so wrapping. Whoop. Using the whole brush when I'm wrap drying as well. it should feel really beautiful for a client to get their hair wrap dried. Yeah. If it doesn't feel really nice, then I suspect that the brush you're using doesn't have little balls on the end. And then, yeah, that does hurt, you know? So you want to make sure that the brush that you're using is appropriate for wrap drying. So see those little balls on the end? That's what helps you run over the scalp, okay? So what you're doing as well is you're transferring the oils from the scalp through to the mid-length to end. Now, my client doesn't have a very oily scalp, but look, we're still going to give them the full service. Okay, rough drying back the opposite way, so I swapped hands. Whoop. Sorry, Manny. I can't wait to see this picture that Danny's talking about. All right, so once we wrap dry, we will grab our irons just to polish this. Oh my God, my assistant just turned the irons on for me. You're just like going supernova, Bradley. I mean, it's taken 2 years, but well, I've trained the best assistant. Oh gosh. Oh. So someone just asked me about the Dyson. I fully love my Dyson, and especially for the type of work that I do, because it's really lightweight, I can like hold my arm up like this and wrap dry. I don't overly need like a huge amount of like stretching on the hair. But having said that, I've spoken to people that do round brush, and they love the Dyson. So I just think it's a great shape and a great design. The way it's been designed for hairdressers is really good. And I love the attachment. The diffuser is just killer. And as long as you clean your filter, which you should be doing that anyway, like then I've never really had a problem. I love it. So wrapping, see how I'm just like constantly wrapping myself around my client? Like that's kind of how you get that smooth, even result, yeah? All right, now I am going to put the nozzle on just for a tiny bit, just because we have had a little bit of color work. I'm going to get this nice and glossy. Right underneath here. So get your client to tilt their head forward so you can get right in underneath. So my brush, everything is parallel to each other as I travel down the head. If you want a little bit of root lift, you can do that as well with the paddle. It doesn't have to be like a flat surface. Okay, and we'll come through this side. You've got to swap hands as well. You see where that hair's parting there. So we like to wrap dry at the academy so that we can kind of get more of a natural finish, but everybody is different. So if in your salon and in your space you round brush, I would just, you know, do what it is that is the culture in your salon, but I wouldn't add too much volume, yeah, because what are you doing when you're adding volume? You're removing your line away from that 0 degrees elevation, so it becomes difficult to cross-check it, yeah. So by more drying it in that flatter manner with that flat brush, that's how I'm able to check my shape, which is why I love using that brush, yeah. But like I said, you don't want to like, if the culture in your salon is to use that round brush, then yeah, go for it. That's one of the like super amazing things about our industry, is that there are so many different ways to do something, you know. I'm just showing you what we do at the academy because yeah, that's all I know. I asked Morella for my start date today because I felt like I saw Elle from Cobell up in Queensland just had her 11-year hairdressing anniversary. So I was like, oh, I wonder what my date is. So on the 18th of October 2004, I started hairdressing. So yeah, I was 22 when I started. I was like definitely, you know, not 16. So I did feel like I was a bit behind everyone else having all this experience. But I think when you find that thing that you love, it just clicks. All right, we're almost there. You can see how you can still get a really beautiful shiny result with that paddle brush, yeah? Turn that off and we will grab our irons. Just going to pop the chair up. Cool. So, I mean, already I can see some things like, you know, you can see that little bit of graduation under there that we're going to be able to take off. I mean, there's still lots of things that we're going to be able to work on. So that's exciting. Let's come and gloss these ends. Okay, because we've still got a bit of movement in through that root area. All right. So end with the comb when you're ironing through here. So pick it up. And I'm kind of ironing the hair, like finishing it using the same section patterns that I used to cut it. You know, that sort of makes sense in my mind. So it all kind of comes together. I feel like the colorists have been giving me lots of warm colored mannequins. So is it going to be hitting the streets hard soon, guys? Everyone's predicting warm trends. Or maybe it's because it's actually easier on a mannequin to get a beautiful color. I wonder. I need to, my irons are squeaking, Bradley. How do you stop a squeaky iron? Get a new one. All right, I'm going to tilt the head down so I can get right in underneath here. I'm just going to keep going. This is like super thick mannequin. Pretty hard to get in under there. Everything is kind of easier on a real person, which is what we talk to the students about. I'm like, if you can do it on a mannequin, you're going to be fine, because it's just so much easier on a person. You know, the whole experience is better too. You know, you're connecting with a human, and that's like one of the best things about our job. You know, you're like making someone feel better and feel better about themselves and look better than when they came in, you know. So I think that's a pretty special gift that we have. And when you're on the mannequin, you don't get that feel, you know. So if you can achieve the results on the mannequin, you're going to be fine, yeah. So the mannequins are more for technique, just to make sure you understand the nuts and bolts of how to get there. I think I'll never look at a mannequin the same after lockdown. She shares in mannequin companies. So eat all these little bits, just leave it. We'll fix it later. Don't jump the gun. Serious face you've got there, Crystal. Terrifying. She needs a fringe like this. I think Crystal's the one that scares me the most. Sorry, Crystal. I actually have an ex-student called Crystal who's a fantastic hairdresser. I feel bad even just picking on crystals. Okay, so even this side, I'm ironing it where I cut it. I'm like over directing it back to iron those ends, yeah? So you get that gloss right through the end. There's that little tip, you know, you want to have it all the same elevation, so even the irons are hitting the ends of the hair where you cut it. If you want that polish There's probably some people out there that have just been flat out on the phones booking in clients, ready for our return. It's pretty exciting. I definitely need to get my scissors sharpened. If you're out there, Mr. Scissor Sharpening Man, please come and visit us. Nearly finished. Bit of a jumpy cowlick there, my friend. To see how that wants to hang out. And we'll just come underneath the back on this side. I've got this bit here to do, and then we can start finishing it, refining. So you can see how you've got to leave enough like juice in the tank, enough energy to be able to do this bit, yeah, to finish, because that's what the client sees. You know, when the client walks out, like that's what they see in the mirror is the finish. So you can do the most perfectly amazing one length haircut that is like the greatest haircut ever. But if you leave hair all over your client's neck and their hair is itchy for the rest of the day, like their neck is itchy, you lost them. You know what I mean? So there's a lot more to it than just cutting hair really well. You know, you have to see that full service, and you've got to sort of manage that time within your service. She's smoking back here. So that's why it's good to put an oil on the hair, because that product is protecting that color.
Lavender says, love your work, Twinkle, absolute legend. Just saying.
Oh, Lou Hunter, you're an absolute legend. Hey Lou, I didn't get a chance to comment on your painting the other day, but that is beautiful. Have you been painting for a long time? It's amazing. It's super impressive. And I'm also impressed that you've got time to do training, because I imagine you're one of those people, because you're a salon owner, that has just been like crazily booking people and trying to figure out all of that. So well done to you for investing in your own education. This is the bit where I always like end up taking really massive sections because I get over it. Is anyone else like that? I literally have to physically stop myself from doing that, because I know that I do it. It's like when you're foiling, and I have to talk to the students about this. You've like that whole concept of leaving enough energy in the tank. When you embark on a full head of foils or a bob or something like that, say it's a full head of foils, you start off down here and you're like dun 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 dun, and you're like packing in those foils, and it's amazing. And then by the time you get to the top, you're so hungry that you're like spacing them out like this, like, got to get out of here. Do you know what I mean? And it's like the client came in talking about their regrowth up here. They didn't come in talking about their regrowth down here, you know? So that's why, yeah, you've got to really like manage that time. Don't start off and then like don't see it through. You want to really make sure that you get that gloss right to the end, which you always have to work at. Even I have to work at it. Does anyone listen to Eye of the Tiger and foil? No, Lindo. All right, so let the hair sit where it wants to sit, yeah? Because you might need to readjust that parting. Like what we said, you sort of, you know, this, you've got to finish it and refine it. So there might be a bit of hair here that does need to live over here. Yeah? Oh, lost my AirPod. Hopefully they're working still. All right, so comb it down. This bit over there. All right, I'm going to grab my scissors. And let's start refining. So a one length is the heaviest shape you can do. You know, it's like 0 degrees elevation. So I wouldn't go taking too much weight out of it. Yeah, I like to keep it nice and solid and really heavy. So I'm going to go straight into refining the perimeter. Okay, just make sure this is as high as it can go. Yeah. Ooh. And then we'll start through here. You want to tilt your client's head over, yeah, and then all of that excess graduation will pop out through there. Now, this hair through here that's going to come and live on this side, what I would do is pick this up using my wide teeth. I'm going to come and connect that into this side. I'm using elevation so that it sits a little bit softer in through there. It looks like this hair wants to have a party over this side. Now, anytime I'm finishing my shape with a line, I'm point cutting. I'm point cutting a straight line, okay? So that's through there. I'm just going to put the bevel back on that so it can live with the rest of the hair. Okay. Now we can come underneath, under here, and I'm going to start point cutting out this excess graduation, yeah? So you can see that. Can everyone see under there? These little bits under here. So you want to comb it into its natural fall. Don't try and like trick yourself. Everyone has excess graduation. Do you know what I mean? Unless you're, I don't know. I just think everyone gets it. Do you know what I mean? It's good to be honest. So it's all about just coming through and point cutting. Using a pointing technique, I find it sits a lot softer and a lot more beautiful. Hair sits in a different spot every single day as well. So what you don't want to do is if you blunt cut it, when it's dry, it kind of looks a bit clunky. Yeah? So this is where you wish that you'd had your points on your scissors freshly sharpened. But that's it. I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to come through into the back and we're going to start working around. Do the same thing. So we've got this hair here. This bit of hair doesn't really know what to do. Yeah, every day it sits somewhere different. So I really want to, I'm going to take some of this. I'm going to use elevation up here. Yeah, and I'm going to point cut the ends off. Okay, because we've got a side part, there's this bit of hair here that will sit here, it'll sit there, it'll sit here, and it makes it look like you don't know what you're doing. Okay, so I would elevate it and just point cut it off. Okay, And then this bit here, I'll come through here and point that into this line. Yep, so this is all that refining through there. And then I'll gloss it again with the iron there. And then we'll go back down and do the perimeter. All right, now we're down here. Come and take out this little bit of grad in here. So using a pointing technique. There's still a little bit there that's annoying me. And I'm happy with how that's sitting in through there. Just see, I think actually what that is that's annoying me is the color is a little bit deeper under there. So I'm gonna have to take that a little bit higher. Can you see that? So you've got to make sure you, again, like, and that you've got to, even though you might have made it perfectly straight, you need to stand back and assess it with your client. So what I mean by that is sometimes the most perfectly straight thing won't work because maybe your client, their face shape is not symmetrical, you know? So that color under there made that look like that was heavier and poking out. So I've actually just point cut into that to soften it. And I think that looks nicer, yeah? So it's just assessing that shape and fitting something to your client, yeah? Oh, sorry. All right, so let's come around here. Let's have a look at this side. How are we going? We got anyone left watching?
Yep.
It's always this, I'm like sweating bullets here. No. All right. Pick this up. Comb it into shape. What have we got here? We've got some cotton. Might just take that one out. All right. So this side, let's keep going around with our pointing. We used over direction through here, okay? So this one is going to fall longer towards the face. So you've got to remember that as you're doing it and working around through here. So it's about getting through underneath in here. Can you see that? So I'll pick this up. A good way to do it is you can use a wide teeth, the wide teeth of your comb, come through and just refine that line. Again, using a pointing technique, I'm going to come through and just even that out, okay? So I'm always holding my comb on the angle that I want to create. I trust my comb, okay? I trust my comb to be straight. I don't trust my eyes, you know? I don't trust my eyes, I don't trust my body, but I trust my comb. So I try and use that as much as possible to create really nice, strong lines. Okay, and I try not to use my hands to pick up things. So if I want to access this part of the hair, I'll use my scissors to pick it up and I'll run over it this way. Okay, and then I will continue, see here? I'm going to continue that line and refine this shape down right through to the front. And point, point, point. I point one way and then I'll point back the other way, especially because my scissors are sounding a little bit like a tractor. Okay. Just make sure I've picked up all the hair. We have got this rogue growth here, which might, I'm going to put that over here. Crystal was adamant that that's where her part goes. So I'm going to have to listen to the client there to get some kind of lacquer out. Okay. And that's that side done. Okay. So I need to, with my irons, gloss that new length because I just cut a little bit of the bevel off on that longer side. So you can see how that doesn't look as beautiful as this. That's because I cut the bevel off. So make sure you just run over with the irons, you know, and re-establish that everything's got that same finish through there. That's how you get that gorgeous glossy finish. Okay. I'm going to pop the chair down and just through the top of my bob, because it still feels a little bit heavy in some spots, just through here, I'm going to lightly point cut. Now, I'm not doing it to take away a whole lot of weight. I'm doing it just to create a little bit of movement, okay? So I'm elevating this. I'm going the same depth throughout, and I'm just very lightly going to break into this. Respecting the shape that I've just created. Yeah, the last thing you want to do is go and mash through and completely change your line, but I'm just adding just that little bit of movement through here and just softening that off. Okay. I think that's just going to add that element of kind of salon wearability to the finished look, yeah? Yeah, that's nice. Okay. Pick that up.
Maria Sameta asked, curious as to what type of scissors you use.
So today I've got my, I use Mizutani scissors, and I have two pairs that I float between. I've got my my Frank Mizutanis, and I've got my hybrids. So this is the scissor that Mizutani created for Eugene Solomon, who's like the goat of creative hairdressing, like phenomenal hairstylist. So yeah, these were created for him, and I love it because it's a precision. I love the point on the end of them, and it's got enough weight behind it for me to create nice solid global shapes. Yeah, it's a nice scissor. It's nice and light as well. I don't have a scissor that's too long. Also just running over that just a couple more times. See this top bit as well. This is that piece of hair we were talking about that moves around.
What size are they?
These are 5.7s, I think, which is a bit of an irregular size, but yeah, that works for me. I've never really used a big scissor, so I'd go like 5.5 or 5.7. So I'm just going to break up this side a little bit too, which I might, sorry, I'm moving around a lot, go this way. So I'm always about trying to stand in the right spot so I don't affect my shape. So I'm coming through in this corner here looks a little bit solid for me. So I'm over pointing up into here with that flat wrist as well. So we don't use any thinning scissors at the Academy, at Bieber Academy. This is our go-to way to promote movement and, you know, just to loosen things up. And yeah, sometimes just doing a little bit of pointing can just add a softness that wasn't there before to a shape, you know. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've done plenty of graphic, mean 0-degree haircuts, but I always wish that I had have done that little bit of pointing to add that little bit of texture and that little bit of softness that can make something look all of a sudden just a bit more beautiful. Okay. How's that back looking? I reckon that's all right. I don't think this client's going to come back and complain. So, pop this up. I'm going to pop a bit of product through. So comb it into place. Just check this top one more time. Just see this? So I use lots of elevation and I point, and just take off that tip. Yeah, so it's that tip right in the crown area. You bring it up and you just soften that off so that that piece of hair can move around and it doesn't make it look like you don't know what you're doing. Because if you don't, you might get a long piece from here that comes and lives over here. Okay, so be aware of that. So let's brush this into shape, and I might just put a little bit of spray. What am I going to do? Let's go with a little bit of spray. Put my chair back up. Sorry about that. Just going to put the chair up. Move over here, away from this painting. Put a little bit of movement in there. Maybe just a tiny bit of movement in there. Try and cover those eyes. Poor Crystal, I really given her a hard time. And then just that bit of hair there is going to annoy me. So if you've got something like that, you can also like spray your fingertips and kind of connect it over there with just your fingertips rather than hitting it. So I do that for a lot of comp work. If you want to get those flyaways away, you kind of spray your fingers in through there, and then you're able to just get it exactly where you need it. Yeah. All right, so we've got that, and then I think a little bit, so that was the Mystify Me, and then I'm going to go in with some Glam Mist, which is a beautiful aerosol-based shine spray in the Walla Imi range. And this will really help with this divine color that Marilyn Garino from Bieber Academy has done in through here. And I love the aerosol-based shine sprays because they don't end up being too wet on the hair. So it's a really good thing to have in your tool belt if you are doing any comp work as well, because it doesn't ever ruin your shapes. Cool, and I think that's our back to basic line. We can do like a quick recap. Coming through, we worked with both techniques that the students learn at the academy. So they learn a one length above shoulder, which you would separate into a hot cross bun. You do the back first, and then you move through into the front. And remember, through this side, the keys are those things to think about with the ear. When you've got these two sections, take a cross section from what you've already cut into what you want to cut, and then that's going to help you get that really beautiful line that marries through from the back to the front. And then remember that that ear allowance. So you're coming down, you think you're ready to cut, but you're not, because you're going to go 1, 2, 3, yeah, and that will release the tension over the ear. And you do that every time, and then when you dry, you have that little bit of excess graduation to cut out. And I mean, that's way better. It's way better to have that than to have this, like a bus, drawing a bus as a kid. You don't want that because you have to take the whole thing shorter. So by tapping for the ear, you're going to give yourself a little bit more length, and then when it dries, this just ended up straight, but I mean, it might end up a little bit longer, and that's fine. You just take that off, yeah? And when you're refining the line, it's a pointing technique, not a horizontal technique, okay? Through this opposite side, we just over-directed everything back, yeah? So you get to see how you can create a really different, beautiful, slightly asymmetric shape for your client using only a one length technique, but also introducing over direction. Yeah, and you get that side that little bit longer. I would suggest if you have a client that has the side part on this side, that you make this the heavier, longer side. Yeah, because it doesn't really translate the other way. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's it. Just a little bit of minimal point cutting, making sure that you're prepping the hair. Remember, we spoke as well about putting leave-in treatment in to help fill out the potholes in the cuticles. So then you can put your styling product on top and you get like a really lush, rich, smooth surface. And the smoother the surface for something like this, the light can then bounce off it and you can really appreciate that tone of color a lot better if the hair has been smoothed out with the right products. And that's kind of it. I hope everyone's taken something away from our back to basics day. I've faced my fear doing a one length on camera on Facebook in my lounge room. But yeah, we'll be here again next week. If anyone's got anything in particular that you want to see or that you think we can do, just shout out to the Academy and let us know. And yeah, we'll see you all next week for Live in the Lounge Room. I'm Lyndall Salmon, and yeah, this is Bieber Academy. See you later.